The garrison of troops on Snake Island who defied a Russian warship and told them to go F themselves are reported to still be alive. However, the reports indicate that they are now prisoners of war since they've been captured by the Russian troops. Now, before we give you the details on this story and the update, let me show you the video that we're referencing here. Let's watch.
Все. Нахуй тоже надо.
На всякий случай.
All right, so they remained defiant, and the thought was that these Ukrainian troops died. I mean, I think that's, we didn't know for sure, but that's what it was being reported as. But here's the update. Ukraine's Navy wrote on Facebook that the border guards on Snake Island, which is about 30 miles off the coast of Ukraine and a strategic post in the Black Sea, may have been rescued as part of a civilian humanitarian mission. The ship that rescued them, however, was illegally captured by the Russians, the Navy contends. Now, again, officials had assumed that the 13 soldiers had died after they had lost contact with the garrison, which was destroyed by the Russian military in an artillery attack. But this is somewhat of a positive update. It's good to know that they're still alive, but unfortunately they're prisoners or made prisoners by the Russian troops. Now, what's kind of amazing about this is stories get updated, and as they get updated, you report the updates, you share them with your audience. That's what we're doing right now. But Russia apologists like Aaron Mate, Tim Pool, people like that, felt like this was a big gotcha for people who had reported on the original story. Not a gotcha if the story gets updated and then you do the update as we're doing right now. In fact, one of those people is Aaron Mate. I want to just share this quick exchange that he had with Cenk. Cenk writes, my new motto in life is Russian warship, go F yourself, making a reference to the original video that we talked about. And Mate says his favorite word, of course, which, it's a little funny in this context. McCarthyite dupe, go fact check yourself.
That's hilarious. So a couple of things about that. Number one, he's asking me to fact check whether my new motto is Russian warship, go after yourself. I did fact check that. It turns out it's still my new motto. So fact check completed.
Award-winning journalist, Cenk.
Okay,
award-winning journalist.
What a weird thing to ask someone to fact check. I mean, you're not asking me to fact check whether they died or not, you're asking me to fact check whether that's my motto. Why did you respond to that tweet? Because he wants to get at me. And he's trying to find a tweet like where he's like, okay, now I could pretend he got it wrong here.
You're just you're a Western chauvinist, Cenk.
Of course.
A Western a McCarthyite Western chauvinist. I mean, does anyone take this guy seriously?
Well, not anymore.
How can you guys, all you can do is laugh at this guy at this point.
Yeah, although the people who did take him seriously should send in apologies, not to us, but
to us,
to their audience.
Us.
No, but okay, fine, sure, to us, particularly Dana, but to your audience, to your readers, to anyone who follows you on Twitter, you should send an apology saying, "I'm so sorry, I misled you by taking these guys seriously." Now, look back to
it gets worse.
Yeah, it's going to get much worse. You hold on, but I want to finish the fact check. Okay, everyone thought they were dead. The Ukrainian government said they were dead, and by the way, the buildings were bombed. So I don't know how they got off the island. And by the way, I also don't necessarily believe the Ukrainian government's version of the story, that a civilian ship pulled up, took them out off the island, and then that ship got captured. It's possible that the Russians landed and then they surrendered. We don't know, okay? I'm not taking any government's word for it. But in the beginning, they say that, it appears, the government says they're all dead, and it appears that the island has been bombed. So, okay, if you can't report that, you literally can't report anything in the middle of a war.
No, but what was the point of that really? What was the point of that? Was the point to show oh, look at how compassionate the Russian troops are. They didn't actually murder these people.
Yeah, they only kidnapped them.
They only kidnapped them.
And took them hostage.
They're now only made prisoners of war. It's not a big deal. Putin is such a great, compassionate guy, right, Aaron Mate? I mean, he can't help himself. That's the amazing thing. The dude who spends all day on Twitter searching phrases like, or words like Putin and Russia, so he can go after anyone who dare say anything that offends his daddy, his lovely little daddy who's so compassionate and so awesome. I love the fact that now they're twisting themselves into pretzels trying to figure out what their talking points are gonna be when they've been shilling for Russia and Putin for literally years. What's your talking point now? I can't wait for the headlines that are about to emerge from Gray Zone and all these other authoritarian apologists, right? Ukraine invaded itself.
Yeah, I mean, they'll say anything. They'll say anything.
Right.
So, but one more thing before we get to how much worse it's gonna get. Guys, my first reaction when I found out that they had not been killed was, oh, thank God they're alive.
Right.
Right? Because we thought they were all dead after such a brave thing to say, Russian warship, go after yourself, and it looks like they got hit with a bomb. And I remember thinking and saying, and I said it later in the show that day, imagine if you're their dad of the guy who said it, right? Or the son, or we don't know their family situation, but that's gotta be heartbreaking. So when I heard they were alive, I was like, yes, that was my first reaction. Aaron Mate's first reaction was, yes. Now we will pretend that everything is a lie about Russia and that Russia's innocent of everything. Yeah. I can't wait to go tweeting against all the people who criticized my beloved daddy, my imperialist warmonger daddy, Vladimir Putin. Hey, guys, everybody in Gray Zone and Glenn Greenwald, who is humiliating himself now, and everyone else in that faction, can you just say something really simple like Putin obviously started the war? No matter what you think of NATO and what we should have done, etc., and we've criticized what we should have done in the lead up to what happened, right? Because we're honest, unlike you dirtbag propagandists. Can you say, hey, that was a war of aggression? Hey, no, Glenn will come back to. I'm not gonna say anything. You can't force me to say anything, okay? So the only thing they ever say is how great Russia is and how terrible anyone who opposes Russia is. They're just the most embarrassing people on earth. Can you for a second celebrate that those guys are still alive?
No,
instead of rushing to Putin's defense, you're pathetic.
No, here's more though. We said it was about to get worse, and it is. So it's one thing to use this updated story to put out pro-Putin propaganda and go after people who are reporting the story as accurately as they can. It's another thing to just completely lie about what Putin is doing when he's specifically targeting civilians. So let's go to this tweet from Mate. Russia has not used anywhere near its full military power. It's avoided civilian areas and focused on NATO-tied military targets. Let's just pause right there. That's the relevant sentence there. I'm gonna repeat it. This is from Aaron Mate, this is his tweet, it's a screenshot from his tweet. He's gonna try to weasel his way out of this. But here's what he wrote verbatim. Putin avoided civilian areas and focused on NATO-tied military targets. Oh, that's fascinating because there's quite a bit of footage and quite a bit of evidence that that is not the case. He claims that CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're struggling, man. They're struggling to find the actual footage. Maybe you're struggling to process what you're viewing because there's quite a bit of evidence. We'll show you right now. Why don't we go to the next video?
Now, Russia's claimed its attacks are aimed only at military targets, but you've seen the pictures and you see them in front of you now. We've seen damage to neighborhoods, to schools.
Какая жесть.
В зале нам удалось спастись, мы были на кухне, повезло, прямое попадание в зал. У жены со старшим сломаны ноги, открытые переломы, младший увели спасатели куда-то, я его сейчас разыскиваю.
For those of you who aren't watching but listening to the audio version of the show, the video included an apartment building, a residential apartment building that was attacked by Russians. And then you, at the very end, also see a hospital that was being attacked by Russians. But I mean, what could Aaron Mate do? Award-winning journalist who suddenly can't do any research or find any evidence of civilians being targeted by Russian troops. Because that's how award-winning journalists conduct business. That's how they do their jobs. What a freaking clown.
So when we invaded Iraq, Young Turks told you about all the things that the US government was doing wrong, the US military was doing wrong, and all the damage that was done to civilians in Iraq. Hundreds of thousands of civilians killed in Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. When Israel bombs places, we tell you it's bombed a school or a hospital, etc. And when Russia bombs schools, hospitals, and other places, we tell you about it. Isn't it weird that the guys who claim to be anti-imperialists say, okay, yeah, US did that, Israel did that, everybody else did something else. When it comes to Russia, they're like, no, they haven't bombed civilians. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you rush out in the middle of a war where Russia's brought in 190,000 troops and there's a convoy of tanks rolling towards Kiev now, and you see these pictures, and you go, no way, they didn't hit civilians. The beloved Russia, beloved Putin didn't hit any civilians. Why humiliate yourself like that? Nah, they're total and utter joke.
Yeah, social media video from Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, showed residential areas being shelled with apartment buildings shaken by repeated powerful blasts. Authorities in Kharkiv said at least 7 people had been killed and dozens injured. Did they bomb themselves, Aaron? Just like the civilians in Syria, used chlorine gas against themselves, as you and your clowns over at the Cray Zone love to allege? I mean, these people are disgusting. That's why I have the kind of reaction I do every time I hear that person's name, right? When I flip the bird and I show him my middle finger, it's because he deserves it. And I'll never apologize for it because I come from people who had been massacred in a genocide, and people like Aaron Mate helped build a narrative for genocide denialists. That's the kind of person Aaron Mate is. I don't have any love for him or Max Blumenthal, a guy who gallivants around town pretending as if he's this amazing reporter who's anti-establishment when his own father is a longtime Hillary Clinton confidant. Please don't try to feed me any of that garbage. I see right through it, and I'm hoping and praying that more and more people who have fallen for their nonsense coverage see exactly who they are today.
Yeah, and guys, this isn't just about them. It's watch out for propaganda from all quarters, right? What real reporters, journalists do, and people in the press do, is when they have facts, they report the facts that they believe they have. And then and they question the government. They question all governments. They don't pick and choose,
right?
And say no, one government's always innocent. And if they see that a fact gets updated, they just tell you about it. And they don't do propaganda. These guys, look, I'm gonna show you the last headline here, because if you weren't sure yet, I don't know what's wrong with you, but okay, fine. Can we put up the picture? Yeah, there it is. This is the headline on Gray Zone.
Yeah, I went to their website thinking, who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some balanced coverage. This is a headline, to be fair, February 15th, but I haven't seen a single headline on the Gray Zone website condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. All you see is stuff like this, okay? Russia UN ambassador on NATO-Ukraine escalation, and then they go on to say that it's really the United States and NATO escalating this situation. No updates in regard to the Russian invasion of a sovereign country, nothing like that.
They take the Russian ambassador's quote and they print it as the headline.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's like literally what I yelled at the top of my lungs about during the Iraq war when the American media would do it regarding the American government. Bush says America's safer because of Iraq war. I'm like, you can't put that in the headline. It's not true.
Yeah.
That's just propaganda that you're repeating. Gray Zone's like, oh, Russian propaganda, of course, terrible NATO, terrible Ukraine escalation. It is their fault, obviously. Did you correct it? Did you now put up a headline about how it was Russian aggression? By the way, we on this program said we were concerned about needlessly antagonizing Russia by insisting that we put NATO in Ukraine. And that's a complicated question because Ukraine has their own opinion on it, etc., right? And then when Russia invaded, we came out and said, well, it looked like based on the evidence, that they were going to invade no matter what, because you could see that they had already prepared it, and they went forward, not just into the breakaway republics, but into all of Ukraine. So it became clear that, oh no, Russia had planned this invasion and aggression from day one, no matter what we did, including the things that we did wrong.
Right.
Right, as America and NATO. But that's because we care about facts. Whereas propagandists, whether it's Gray Zone or anyone else, they don't. And the way you can tell, guys, is if they only argue one side of an issue. And unfortunately, it just applies to so much of the media in America. America's always right. No, America's always wrong. No, how could that possibly be true, right? Whereas we try to do something that I thought when I started the Young Turks, I thought wasn't revolutionary at all. I thought it was just normal. I thought that's what everybody did. You know why? Because I partly bought into the mythology 20 years ago, right? I thought that's what everybody in news does. They just report the facts. I came to realize, no, unfortunately, giant chunks of the media only represent one side. Well, that ain't news. That's just propaganda for whichever side that you picked. And in the case of Gray Zone, the answer is overwhelming. And you could always get any of these guys by just asking them to state simple facts about the other side. Like when we asked Aaron Mate, you said that Bashar al-Assad won a democratic election. He got 95% of the vote in the middle of a civil war. That's obviously absurd. Can you say that that's obviously not a legitimate election? There is no legitimate election where anyone gets 95%. Landslides are like 58%, right? Let alone a dictator in the middle of a civil war.
Right.
No, I can't do it. Why can't you admit simple facts?
Yeah.
That's because you're a propagandist and you're disgusting. So Russian propagandists, go F yourself. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.